So the year has flown by. From launching CIC Academy to growing our incredible team, we've been laser focused on one thing: helping you turn your CNC passion into profit. And in this video, I want to recap my favorite 5 projects that we made on this channel in the last 12 months. Hope you enjoy. 2 points, 3 points. This is literally the coolest thing I've ever made. Today, using only this 2 foot by 2 foot panel, we're gonna be making this wooden skee ball table. And guys, quite frankly, this is the hardest thing I've ever designed, from the ball sorting to the angle to all the things that go into it. So today, I'm gonna show you how I made this and how you can make this too. All right, guys, this is the final program we're cutting out today, but I would not do it justice unless I showed you how much programming actually went into this. And so even down to how the ball catcher worked, how the ball returns work over here, all the different angles and adjustments I had to go through. Just know that this thing took multiple versions and multiple different iterations. It was a huge pain in the butt. I ended up cutting 3 of them out of a different material before I finally was able to make all the changes I need to get to a version 4. And so what I wanted to show you is kind of quickly how I programmed all of this into here. Most of this is just going to use 1 bit, so it's going to use a 1/4 inch down cut. And so first we come over here and program out the backboard / ball catcher. I don't really know what to call it. And then we're going to come back with a profile and leave that eggshell like I always like to use. And then we're going to come back and do this little pocket right here for whenever the ball comes out of the ball return. Then we got another pocket for this ball sorter. This is going to snap on top of that. You're going to pocket out the sides. You're going to come back with a V-bit, and it's going to come over here and bevel out these holes. That way the ball can actually fall in there. So you notice that slight bevel right there. And then you're going to come back over here and do a V-bit for the numbers for the score. And then I come back with an 1/8 inch bit right here, and that's just going to poke some holes that I eventually have to hand drill out, and that's for our alignment. So we're going to use bamboo skewers for alignment, and you'll see that later in the video. And then we come back and just cut everything out, and you end up with a program that looks like this. Now notice there is tabs right here. Tabs are very important. I did not use tabs later in the video, and you will see why I added tabs to this part so you don't make the same mistake I did. This is what it ends up looking like, and if you do get this program, you're gonna have all of these instructions on what vector to select, what kind of, what the name of it is, what the path is, how deep. If you get the program, you're gonna get all the vectors and all of this info, exactly how to program it. It looks a little complicated, but I promise you, it's really pretty simple. You're gonna be amazed at how easy this thing is to put together. Let's go cut it out in CNC. So all you need to make this project is any 3/4 inch thick material and just a 12mm ball bearing that I got from Amazon. Link is in the description. So what I'm gonna do, since I don't have a vacuum table to hold all this down, I'm gonna put some double-sided tape on the back, and then I already marked out my areas, my safe zones of where I can actually put clamps. And so I'll have to do a little fun configuration right here to get this thing clamped down. But I got this material, I had it custom engineered and made specifically for CIC Workshop. And what it does, and what's so cool about it, is that it's gonna be able to eliminate those chip outs. It's gonna be so easy for you to make cool projects, because that's what I want y'all to do. I want y'all to make cool projects, be able to sell stuff, and not have to have a ton of machinery. You should just be able to get a CNC, put a cool sheet like this on there, and just cut out cool projects, whether you want to sell them, give them to friends, etc. So now that we have the panel secured and held down, this entire project is going to be 4 different bit changes, starting with this 1/4 inch downcut bit, which you can get on cscworkshop.com. And it's going to do a lot of the profiling and the pocketing. And the very first thing it's going to cut out is that backboard where the ball's going to fall into. So I still can't put into words how nervous and excited I am to get this project underway. And I really hope it works. I am super stoked. Let's go. So our next tool path is going to be this 60-degree V-bit, which is going to do little edges around the rim and come over here and do the score. But we did have one oopsies in here where I was really too aggressive with that 1/4 inch bit on how much I was taking off. I should have did it in 2 passes, instead did it in 1, and I got a little bit of a tear out. Normally it would not tear out like that, so I'll just do a little glue and fix it up and keep on going. So the 60-degree V-bit did as expected. It was a little light over here, so we had to rerun it. Next is this 1/8 inch down cut. I would typically prefer an up cut because we are drilling holes and you want those chips to get evacuated, but a down cut's gonna work just fine, and it's gonna poke all these holes, which are more or less just alignment holes for dowel rods. So let's run this next. So you may have noticed some smoke coming out, and like I said before I ran this, a down cut is not the proper bit, and this is a perfect example why, and I hope you're gonna learn from this. What that down cut does, right, it's gonna put the chips downwards. Whenever that happens, there's nowhere for them to go, so they're just gonna burn up. Now the bit didn't actually get that hot, but there was so much friction with all that wood rubbing together, and there's nowhere for it to go, so it has to burn up and almost spontaneously combust, and then that's when you saw the smoke come out. So this is the last pass. 1/4 inch down cut is back in there. It's gonna cut everything out. I am once again very nervous because parts could go flying. I hope they don't. Hope that double-sided tape works, and I am stoked to start putting this together. So first initial reaction, use some tabs. They are very important. That's why it's called trial and error. You can't have trial and error without air. All in all, I'm actually pretty stoked. It was a little terrifying there, but if any of y'all have a CNC, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So now that all the pieces are cut out, we really only have to do 2 glue ups. The first glue up is gonna be the ramp that consists of 7 pieces. All I do is finish drilling out the holes, stick a bamboo skewer in all 3 holes, and then just mush them together and clamp those together, and that's gonna finish out the ramp. The next thing is gonna be the backboard that keeps score. That consists of 2 pieces, which is the actual holes themselves and the ball sorter that's gonna go underneath. And so if you notice, this is like the back side of it. And when this thing fits on top, it's gonna channel all these balls in different directions. So like a 10 is just gonna go straight down, a 5 is gonna go this way. It's really cool that this whole thing works like it does and you'll never be able to see it. So cool, it's so cool! I am gonna make this with mistakes. I could easily go back and film this again without mistakes, but I wanna show y'all that like woodworking is a journey. You are gonna make mistakes. I mean, I've been doing this for 12 years now and I'm still making mistakes like this. I'm just trying to be open and raw with y'all because I think that's more real and it's more realistic and it sets the expectations where like, this is a journey, this is a learning thing and I am still learning as I go as well. So we got all our pieces cut, sanded. Now it's time to slap a little bit of finish on it because when this thing is fully put together, it's gonna be really hard to get in all those crevices and stuff like that. I'm just using Osmocoat, but you can use lacquer, mineral oil, whatever you're doing if you're building this yourself. So we have all our parts oiled. They are ready to get put together and I am super stoked to just start assembling this thing. So boom, ball return goes in. Ramp goes right above that. Now, granted, you know, if I'm doing this for real, I'll put a little bit of glue and a little clamp and, you know, that way it doesn't come apart. And the next piece is just gonna come right on top of it. And as Ace Ventura says, like a glove. Like a glove. And the back plate. This cocktail rimmer is a pretty simple project as well. The first thing we're gonna be doing is doing a juice groove with a profile on the line with a 7/16 bowl bit because I like the way it looks. Now we're pocketing out the space for the salt. I'm going down 3/8 of an inch, 0.375. I'm doing it in 2 passes. Now I could be doing this with other bits, but I'm trying to keep it simple with that down cut finisher. Now the last cut, once again, is just that profile, doing the 4 passes, leaving that onion skin, and coming back with that allowance on that last pass to clean everything up. So we got the cocktail glass rimmer sanded down, oiled up, and put some salt right here. And it's really cool. So you put a little lime on the edge, a nice little cutting board right here for the lime so you don't get other stuff dirty. You come around, and then it Boom, look at that. That is beautiful. Now, a couple things that I like about this is, believe it or not, I think this is really customizable because you can do different stuff right here, right? Like I did the state of Texas. So now you fill that with salt and then you have, that, or a logo, whatever kind of sports team you like. You can do it as a football, whatever state you have. And so that is a super customizable thing. So whatever market you're in, this is like so cool. Another thing that I like that is kind of like a little pro tip here is I did a bowl and tray bit. I did a 7/16 bowl and tray bit right here. And why I did that, it has that flatter bottom, so it really gives that two-tone look from that Bamex, and it really makes it pop. If you just do a single like ball nose bit, like a 1/2 inch ball nose, it's barely gonna touch that surface. So I highly recommend a 7/16 bowl and tray bit because it really has that flat bottom to really bring up that Bamex. And once again, you have to pocket down those 0.15 inches. But this product is super cool. I mean, I think anywhere from $20 to $30 here. If you're enjoying this video so far and getting value from it, don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment in the comment section below of your favorite project we've done in the last 12 months. Thanks guys. Now, back to the video. Today, we're gonna be creating a CNC-based project that's not only easy to sell, but really fun to make. And that project is personalized kids name puzzles. We're gonna take you through the entire process from programming to finishing. And along the way, I'm gonna be giving tips and tricks that I would use to try to make this project into a lucrative side hustle. Now, with all CNC projects, we gotta program it. All right, guys, let's get this kids name puzzle program. So what you're looking at here is an alphabet that I designed specifically for kids name puzzles to be cut out on the CNC using a 1/4 inch bit. And so the first thing you're gonna do is select all the letters that you want for the name. I'm spelling out my future son's name, Waylon. He's gonna be here in less than 90 days, so I'm super nervous. After this, you're gonna create a 3-inch rectangle like I did down there and vertically align them. And that's gonna keep all your letters nice and tight and aligned vertically. After that, you're gonna take a little 1/2 inch circle and line them up like this and space them out evenly. Bring that rectangle in on the side of those letters and then click that rectangle, and I like to offset it 3/4 of an inch, and boom, bam, you already have the female side of this puzzle done. And so this realistically should take you about 3 minutes whenever you're programming it. After that, we're gonna do a pocket. We're gonna use a 1/4 inch down cut going at 120 inches a minute, 0.32 inches deep, and I'm using a 0.03 pocket allowance. And what that allows me to do is allows those letters to actually fit in there and wiggle around a little bit. If you don't allow a pocket allowance, the letters do not fit, and it's not a very fun puzzle because nobody's gonna play with it. After that, you're gonna cut out the rectangle, and I'm going at 100 inches a minute on that 1/4 inch down cut bit, and it's going in 4 passes, and I'm holding that piece down with some double-sided tape. So once I have that female part cut out, and I'm cutting that out of 3/4 inch maple, I'm gonna cut out the male part, which I'm gonna cut out of 3/4 inch walnut to give it a nice two-tone look. And so I'm leaving a little space right here so I can put a clamp there to actually hold down the piece, and I'm gonna put some double-sided tape on the back of that. And so what this toolpath looks like is a 1/4 inch down cut, almost going all the way through, but it's gonna leave that slight eggshell. And why I leave that eggshell is because I don't want these pieces to jerk around after that last pass, so I leave a tiny little eggshell. It's gonna come and take that out, and my letters ideally will not move. And there you have it. This is the male part, and the female part we already had cut out, and boom, bam, that is how quickly you can do a kid's name puzzle. So let's go to the CNC and cut this bad boy out. So the first thing we're gonna cut out is the base of it. So I have my maple base that I want. This is a panel that I make in the shop and I sell on CIC Workshop. And then we gotta put our 1/4 inch bit in. So this is just a 1/4 inch down cut. Once again, you chuck it up. You make sure you don't go past the back right here because that's really important if you own a CNC. I got it set at the right distance. It looks good. Tighten it up, make sure it is good. Since it is the center origin, we do have to mark the center point. To hold this down, since I do not have a vacuum table, we're gonna use our handy dandy double-sided tape. This double-sided tape I really like. I buy it from Amazon. I'll put a link in the description. So now that we got a double-sided tape on, we're gonna put it right back in its spot. We have this front edge of the CNC is gonna be the flush side. And I wanna mark this out to see roughly where this thing is gonna go. So I make sure my clamps are nowhere near this spot. So it's roughly gonna get cut out right here. So I know to put my clamps far enough away out of what I call the danger zone and the uh-oh zone. Because whenever it hits it, you know what you say? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. So this 1/4 inch down cut's about to go through this hard maple, and it's gonna pocket it out at 120 inches a minute in one pass, going down 0.37. And then it's gonna do this profile right here at 100 inches a minute. And remember when we programmed it, if you didn't watch the programming, what we're gonna do is leave this tiny onion skin or eggshell at the very bottom. So whenever it does that very last pass, it doesn't have too much torque on it, and that double-sided tape can hold it down. Cross our fingers, let's hope this works. So it cut out just like we drew it up. Let's take it off, look at the finished product, and see kind of what we got here. Double-sided tape held down good, and we helped hold it by not taking that giant pass on that last pass. Remember, we only took off that eggshell, and that helped out a lot. And when we took off that eggshell, we kind of cleaned up all those little lines that were left by those first 2 passes. So now the maple is cut out, the letters are pocketed. Let's get the walnut blank now to cut out the actual letters that are gonna go in here and see if they work. So as you can see, we got the letters cut, we got the blank cut, and without sanding, the letters do fit. And for those of you who don't know, this is my future son's name. He is not here yet. He will be here in May. I'm super excited, but this one's for Waylon, so hopefully like a 1.5 years from now, he can at least gnaw on one of these and play with it. So all we gotta do now, sand it, router it, and oil it up. So let's talk a little bit of business. I'm gonna give you 3 tips on how I would scale this and really bring this product to market. A lot of you are gonna be asking, how much do I charge for this? Well, price is gonna vary greatly depending on what material you're using, what your circumstances are, and stuff like that. But I will tell you how I would go about pricing this type of thing. What I would do is charge a base price for 2 letters. Let's say your base price is 20 bucks. And then every additional letter after that, I would charge $7 to $10 each. So a Waylon right here, you'd have your base price at $20, just for setup times and stuff like that. Then you charge an extra $10, $20, $30, $40. So this Waylon would be a $60 name puzzle. So just in case you get a Stephanie or something like that, you don't lose your butt. The second thing I would do is look at the different competition that's out there. So if you go on Etsy, you're gonna be terrified because there's gonna be all these little painted letters and stuff like that. They're gonna be super cheap. Stick with something like this nice hardwood, because that's gonna differentiate you. What those guys are doing, they're buying stuff from China, they're putting it in there, and it's a really low quality product. So you wanna stick with what you know, which is probably making a nice high quality product, and the customers are gonna see that. The third thing I would do is I would pre-make a lot of these letters right here. So whenever you do get an order, all you have to do is make this. And so you have these stashed away, maybe you make 5 of each letter or something like that, you have them pre-made. And then when you get an order, you make this, and from the time the order is placed to the time you can fulfill it is about 10 minutes, because it only takes 10 minutes to program this and cut it out. And so those are 3 things I would do to start looking at it as a business. And many of you are gonna be asking, who do I target? How do I target them? Etsy's a good way, but I think it's saturated. You go Facebook Marketplace, you go build your own website, you just talk to friends and family, because everybody's having kids. You talk to some kid that just graduated college about 2 years ago, all their friends are having kids, right? There's a way to target kids, because that is who this is targeting. It's targeting parents that are buying gifts for their 2-year-old, their 1-year-old, their 3-year-old, etc. You just got to find a way to reach that target market, because that's who's going to be buying these, and also grandparents for their grandkids. This right here is the original ManStand design. I do have it on CSC Workshop if you guys want to check that out. As you can see, it's pretty simple. I only had a couple tool paths. So this first one is just a pocket tool path. I call it bowl. It goes down 0.26 of an inch. For all of these tool paths, I only used a 1/4 inch downcut bit. So that's going at about 120 inches a minute. And then I'd come back by with this profile coming at 100 inches a minute. And what that would look like is it'd cut it out and it'd leave these all these little tabbies on it, because at the time on this particular CNC, I didn't have a vacuum table. So I had to have a way to keep everything together from shifting. And so what I did is leave this little eggshell / onion skin. Some people call it an onion skin. I call it an eggshell. Grew up on a farm raising chickens. I didn't raise onions, so it's an eggshell. And what it would do is it'd leave this tiny little layer, so whenever this bit came by with this second pass and cut it all the way off, the parts didn't want to move that much. As we started making those and as we started growing, the tool paths got a little bit more complicated, and what it ended up looking like is something like this whenever I got my 4 foot by 8 foot CNC. Now I started having a vacuum table, so I didn't have to connect too many of these tabs together. But one thing to keep in mind is that my bits got a lot faster. So I went from that 100 inches a minute on the profile toolpath to 340 inches a minute. And all of this is at 18,000 RPMs. And then we grew even more. So after a couple years of cutting them out just on the Swift, cutting out, 15 at a time, that toolpath took about 45 minutes. And we bought the Shop Saber 5 foot by 10 foot where I can fit 2 full sheets. And this is what that toolpath ended up looking like. And so we went from cutting out 1 over there on the original, and 4 years later, we were cutting out this many at a time. I believe it was 37 of them. And I had a heck of a vacuum table at the time. And so I didn't have to use really any tabs, just a little piece right here because these pieces wanted to fly and break the bits. I started doing a little roundover right here with a roundover bit. The main difference on this, besides just having just a lot of them and it cutting them all out and it looking super cool, I was able to go so much faster because that machine is so much more rigid. So as you can see, this profile toolpath was going at 410 inches a minute in a 200 plunge rate, cutting all the way through in one pass. And that was just with that 1/4 inch bit. So that's a 1/4 inch down cut, cutting all the way through in one pass, which is absolutely bonkers what those bits can handle and how much we underutilize them when we have smaller machines like the one we're going to cut it out on today, because it just cannot handle that high speed. So let's go ahead and cut one of these out right here, this original docking station on this 12 by 20 inch piece of Baltic birch. And let's see the process on how it's done. And see, I don't like putting my bit in right from the get-go unless it's already in there, because sometimes that bit hits you and it cuts your arm and you get an arm cut right here because you're reaching underneath it, and it really freaking hurts. As you saw in the programming, I only use a 1/4 inch down cut. It's on CSC Workshop, check it out. So I haven't ran this in years on this CNC, but I'm gonna bowl it out at 40% step over, 120 inches a minute, and then do all my profiles at 100 inches a minute. It's gonna be loud, it's gonna scream, but it's gonna be okay because I've ran these bits at 400 inches a minute and they're just fine. So it's just the machine, not the bit that's screaming. Let's do it. So a couple things to notice on this. This is, it's almost powder, so if I can kind of mess with it, it kind of grinds into powder. That's when you know you don't have like the correct chip load, because it should be a little bit bigger chips in this. This is a little too powdery. And my bit was a little bit hot, not too crazy hot because it wasn't a big tool path. But since I did use a down cut, I have this nice edge that doesn't require a lot of sanding. So as I touch this bit, it's not actually too hot. It's probably about 110 degrees, which is not too bad. If I was running it slower, that thing would be on fire right now. So now I'm gonna go back and cut out that eggshell. And all we have to do now is you just pop it out. So just like we used to do it, we used to grab this wrench and hit it right here. We take this little piece and hit it right here. This is like the funnest. This brings back so many memories, guys. You have no idea. I mean, I've done this to thousands and thousands of these. We take this wrench and we hit it right here, just like this.
Nice.
Yeah, and so this is kind of what it comes out to be. Now all we have to do, router it, sand it, stain it. Another side note. This is Dad's old school router. Dad's very old bit. I'm pretty sure the bit is just as old as the router and you get burn marks. But I'll just have fun sanding those out later. Thanks, Dad. It doesn't matter how long it takes you to do something if you don't have the right stuff or don't have the best equipment. I mean, this is a Harbor Freight sander right here. All it matters is that you're making a product that sells, that you're proud of. And then once the product starts selling, you can buy the nicer equipment to make the stuff, right? You don't have to have nice stuff to really start making this. I mean, like, obviously this is CNC cut, so you're like, Ryan, it's CNC cut, all that good stuff. But apply that to other things. Like, you don't have to have nice stuff, you just gotta start selling stuff. And if you don't put it out there for people to know that you sell it, then you're never gonna sell it, right? I mean, even if you make the nicest stuff in the world, if you don't take pictures and put it out there, then people don't know about it. So this is just a good, humbling thing for me to make stuff like we used to do it the old way. But it's also like bringing back some other memories of like, yeah, this is how we did it until we made $2 million of these or $3 million of these or whatever, right? But this is the way it started. So it doesn't have to be fancy, doesn't have to be flashy, and you can use a Harbor Freight sander. It is okay. We got to detail sand it. So that's what I always called palm sanding. That typically took about 3 minutes, and then detail sanding took the other 3 minutes. And so whenever we sanded them, I expected our guys to do about 10 an hour. And if they did over 10 an hour, I'd pay them an extra $1 per docking station, stuff like that. What we used to do is, and what I'll do today is I just take this piece of sandpaper, and this is the original way of doing it. Anthony, the documentary, even commented on this, like this. And this is how we did it. It was not fancy. It was not pretty, it was not sexy, but this is how we do the bowl. This is the way we did it, not for like the first 10, but like for the first like $250,000 in sales, we sanded it like this. We eventually got this oscillating, the multi-tool, and put a little triangle head on it and started doing it that way. We did use one of these from the beginning. We just take a piece of scrap. This is actually scrap Paduke. This is a bad one. And tape it to a stick. Very sophisticated stuff we're doing in here, right? And so now we have our stick of sandpaper, and you stick it in here. We're getting these hard to reach places. And then like right here, and then this groove right here that's very hard to hit. That's the way we did it. Now to get this little slot, sometimes we took a handy dandy pencil and we wrapped the pencil the exact same way. So we're gonna stain this the way that we used to stain it. And our foam, we always just bought mattress toppers or found mattress toppers at like the thrift stores and stuff like that, and just cut our foam pads from there. What we do, obviously, is just dip this in and stain it, just like anything else, right? Use some old t-shirts or whatever, which we would buy from the thrift store, and cut them up, and then I realized they sell rags everywhere else, and so I didn't do that anymore. But this was the way we stained it, and we stained them like this probably for the first $500,000 in sales. We would stain them just like this. We'd have one person staining, one person wiping. When I finally got my bigger shop, what we ended up doing is we ended up making these stainless steel trays. We'd have a guy, boom, he'd dip it in this giant vat of stain, pull it out, squeegee, give it to the next person right here. He would then take that sponge, get off all the excess, squeegee it back into the vat, and then he'd hand it to the next person, which was the fine sander, or the detail wiper. And so it worked like a beautiful system. And then when we had to stain a lot, like I think the most we've stained in a day is like 1,600 of these things in one day. And we'd have a team of 6, 2 people that dipped in the giant vat, squeegeed it, pass it to the guy in the middle. So he would be able to do 2. He'd take that sponge, wipe, 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 throw it to 2 other people, and those guys would do the finish wiping. And then we had the one person that would just put them on our drying racks. And so that's how we did it at scale. That is the way we scaled. This thing fits right there, and that's it. That is a fully made ManStand. Waylon is gonna love this. Today, we're gonna be making this rocking chair, which takes about 4 hours, only using this piece of material and a single CNC bit. Now, like any good CNC project, we gotta program it first. All right, everybody, so these are all the parts that we're gonna be cutting out today to make this rocking chair. I did wanna show you a little bit on how I designed this thing, so I wasn't able to capture everything, but as you can see, it's just some different rectangles and pretty much just me locking myself in a room for 8 hours straight to figure this thing out. That was all it took. If you do get this file, you're gonna have all these parts labeled just like this. There's 20 parts in total, and you're gonna get the nested feature, which this nested part fits on a 2-foot by 3-foot sheet. And then what I did over here is I did every toolpath and every vector to select for that toolpath, how deep to go, what bit to use, how many passes, notes that I thought were important. And so you're gonna get that for every single toolpath. The really cool thing about this whole program is that it only uses a 1/4-inch downcut bit, which is really cool. So at first we're gonna have this little angle thing, and that's gonna be so the back part fits properly on the chair at the correct angle. Then we're gonna come in with a 3/8 pocket in a whole bunch of different parts. Come in with a 1/2-inch pocket for a certain part. You'll see later in the video why. Then we're gonna come back and cut all the parts out, almost all the way out. We're always going to leave that eggshell because I don't like to cut everything out all at once. Then we're going to come back and cut everything all the way out. And if you notice, I do have tabs on here. I made that mistake in the past and everything started to move. And then time for the seat, which we just do a fluting toolpath and to scoop out the seat, and it's really cool. So it looks like that. I pocket that down just a little bit, and really that's it. That's all it takes to program this. It's not crazy. I have all this once again labeled all right here, step by step. Let's get back to the CNC and cut this bad boy out. So we just got our material clamped down in place. We got our double-sided tape on the back. We just got it programmed. If you watch that bit, it's not too complicated. And why I programmed it that way is so I can only use 1/4-inch downcut over this whole entire process. Now I am very excited because one, this rocking chair is for my son that has not been born yet. So this is for Waylon. And two, this is the second project that I'm making with this really, really cool material. I had it made specifically for CIC Workshop and all of our subscribers. It is a very unique material. It has a bamboo core and then an engineered top to kind of look and resemble walnut. And so it is very versatile, very easy to use. Let's click go, see how this thing works, and hopefully this material works good, the bit doesn't break, and Waylon has a chair to sit on, lickety split. Here goes nothing. So the cut went perfect, except for one little thing where I forgot to click the pocketing toolpath on here. We're gonna do that off camera. But other than that, everything went fantastic. I think the color combo with that dark and the light when we put this thing together is gonna look sick. All we have to do now is do the butt or the cheeks of the seat area right here so the kid can sit in there comfortably. So we could have carved out the cheeks when the whole sheet was on here, but it is a tedious process and I really want to take a lunch, and the best part about a CNC is you can click go and leave. So I'm gonna click go, set my camera up on a time lapse, and show you how the seat is carved while I'm eating a sandwich. So that toolpath went extremely well, just like I planned, which rarely happens. Now there are little tiny lines. I can sand those off no problem. So now it's time to sand this and all the other pieces. $18 total. What's the most important thing when making a rocking chair? The rockers, and that's exactly what I just forgot, because we have 18 pieces right here. It's supposed to be 20. Forgot the rocking legs on a freaking rocking chair. Let's go cut those out real quick and start putting this damn thing together. Ah! 20 pieces total. Now let's start putting this bad boy together. So the first thing we're going to assemble is the back piece, and it just consists of these two pieces right here and these three right here. A little bit of glue, a little bit of hammering. So once the back piece is set, I like to put on the runners that are going to hold the back all together, and it's going to go right here and right there. So the next piece is gonna consist of 4 parts, the rocker, 2 uprights, and a cross brace. So you're just gonna put a little glue, these corners. So you're gonna make sure this little part is gonna face the outside. This is just gonna go right in there. It's a nice snug fit. You can clamp any of these pieces. I found you don't really have to clamp these, but you can. And this piece right here, this is the piece that's actually gonna hold the seat in place. And so you notice it's towards the inside. And so we're just gonna put a little bit of glue on this as well. And there you have the outside. And this is gonna face the inside. And this is where the seat is gonna set. So now we have our 2 sides made and it's time to put on the armrest. And what's really cool about all these pieces fitting the way they do, since we put the armrest on, it actually squeezes this joint together so you have a really good glue bond. And so when everything's together, you shouldn't need too many clamps. The only clamp I am gonna use, I'm gonna put a clamp from right here to right there just to make sure all this is a really tight joint. So once your sides are fully made, they should look something like this. And then you'll have these 2 front plates that are gonna go on the front, connecting the sides and the seat all together. So to put all this stuff together, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our side, put a little bit of glue. So once you apply the glue, you're just gonna pop in your side and it should fit snugly in between these 2 ramps right here. Then you're gonna come over the top with your other side. And then what this side piece is gonna do is lock everything in. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of glue on the side piece. Now watch how this piece locks everything in. So it's gonna go right here and come up to there. And look, I can now let go and this piece is gonna be super stable. Then we're gonna flip it around. So now, all we gotta do is put a clamp right here and a clamp right here and clamp this seat together. So now we got both pieces of the chair assembled. All we have to do now is put our back on. And this is the only part of assembly that actually requires a bolt. And so what I'm just gonna use is a little Phillips machine screw. And we're just gonna screw it straight through the back. And this is gonna hold up the back to the frame. And then there's gonna be another screw that's gonna come right here and hold this back on. And so screw right here, everything will go together just right. So this thing is put together. It is looking awesome. I'm gonna rub a little bit of Osmocote on it and talk business. So as I'm oiling this down, you may be asking like, well, is this project sellable? I think this project is absolutely sellable. The only thing you're gonna find out is it's really hard to ship something this big. So if you can figure out a way to ship this and flat pack it maybe, where they just assemble this back part themselves, it is super sellable. So it is gonna make kind of Etsy a little bit harder, but depending on the material you're making it out of, if you can do it out of walnut, you can probably personalize it right here with the kid's name, and I'm actually gonna put Waylon's name right here. He's gonna be able to use it and you can upcharge for that. And so this is a really good high-end gift that I think you can probably sell for upwards of $200–300. This is gonna be under the same realm as those Montessori gifts I always talk about. Parents that love Montessori type things are typically paying a lot more. I can definitely see a grandparent buying this for their grandchild to sit beside them on the rocking chair out on the front porch. I would target that grandparent, that Montessori parent, and they would love to get this for their kid because it's gonna last forever, it's heirloom quality, and once again, you can personalize it right here. Hope you enjoyed those 5 projects as much as I did making them. Thank you so much for watching, much appreciated. And as always, guys, remember, if you ain't cutting it close, you ain't cutting it right.